Hey, we are starting week 5. This week we're going to be reading section 1666 of the novel. That leaves just one section left. After the reading this week, you're only going to have 12 pages left. So really, if you want to get it done this week completely, you're free to do that, and then you can just be prepared for the assignment next week instead of having to read next week and do the assignment. But it's really up to you. I don't mind. This week's reading is 35 pages. This book's been pretty good chunk, which has been nice. Let's look real quick at what you're doing. You have one assignment this week, aside from reading, of course, and that is a short compare and contrast essay. So I'm calling it an essay, but it's not really an essay. It is just a response to the prompt that I'm going to ask you guys about Peter and Vermeer. It is going to be an essay format just because that is the easiest way for you to write it instead of writing just one large body paragraph, because you're not actually getting any point across if you're just writing it in a paragraph. That's more for discussions. So in this case, it is going to be essay format, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what that's going to look like and what I'm expecting from you when it comes to the topic for this week. Okay, so you'll have this document, which is a compare and contrast response. Your reading, sorry, let me back up a little bit. Your reading this week is pages 126 through 160. That's on the document from 2 weeks ago, the one you've been using to read. I've already marked where to begin for week 5 and where to end for week 5. So just catch those and then you'll know. But that's page 126 through 160. So if we go back, like I was just trying to mention before I got ahead of myself, this compare and contrast response, I'm going to go open that so we can talk about it a little bit. So this week I want you to think about the differences and similarities between Vermeer and Peter. Remember, Vermeer being our painter, our artist, the one who Griet works for, and then Peter being the butcher's son, who Griet wants her, and she kind of entertains his advances, but we know she doesn't really want him as much as he wants her, that's for sure. So in 250 words or more, but 250 words at minimum, which is actually really short, so I highly recommend using more words. But if 250 words is what you get out, that's fine. It at least has to be that much. I want you to complete a compare and contrast exploration and explanation. So you're going to have to explore them first, then explain how these two characters are similar and how they're different. So what I've provided you are 5 questions to get the gears turning. I'm not asking you to answer these questions directly. Obviously, you should answer them for yourself so that you can have guidance, but I'm not looking for you to say, these male characters symbolize this and this. They act like this and this, right? It's not about that. It's about using what you answer these questions with to then inspire the writing. So the questions that I ask to get to the gears turning is, what do each of these male characters symbolize for Griet? How do they act? What do they seek from the world and from Griet? And this is an and or question because we don't know a whole lot about maybe what either of them know or seek from the world, but we see a little bit of it, but we definitely see more of what they seek from Griet. What social class do they come from, and does it really make a difference in their personalities? That question's important because we know that Vermeer's more of the bourgeois, whereas Peter is definitely the proletariat. He is the working class, just like Griet is. So technically Griet and Peter line up a little bit better, but Griet and Vermeer definitely have a sexually charged relationship that can't really come to fruition, of course, because he's married to Katarina. So really think about their personalities, think about the way they treat Griet, think about the way they treat other people, just their actions overall, and think about, does the fact that one is bourgeois and the other one is proletariat really change their equality? Does it make a difference? Or are they pretty much on the same playing field? And then number 5 is, what is their moral compass like? That's also an interesting one. It ties in with number 4. I try to have all those questions tie into each other, really. Do they even have a moral compass? Is something guiding them, making them good human beings? Or are they just kind of winging it as they go? Are they trying to figure out whether or not they're good, whether or not they're bad? You'll see some interesting actions from both of them in part 1666. I don't want to get a little ahead of myself, so I won't, but you guys will notice some very interesting actions on their part, and I'm definitely going to talk about that next week. I think actually I want to host a class next week so we can talk about 1666, so just be prepared for that. I am going to send out a reminder probably tomorrow to set up that conversation, okay? So once you answer these questions, you use that information to guide you into your response. How do they compare? How do they contrast? What do they share? What don't they share? And then just like in general, how it affects greed. So you're going to complete the writing below. You will be writing on this document. You will be turning in this whole document back into Blackboard, okay? I provided you with a sample introduction so that you understand that there is still an introduction that needs to be done. There is still a conclusion that needs to be done. But it's fairly simple because you're really just talking about them. You're not using quotes from the story. You're not even having to paraphrase from the story. It's really just about what you know about their characters now that you've been reading about them. So both Peter and Vermeer are powerful male characters in Greed's life. While both men come from different social classes, Greed finds herself in a predicament as Vermeer, a married man who she shares feelings with, and Peter, a lower-class worker who desires her, both strive to get her to do things she does not always want to do. Both of these men share qualities that prove them equals while also proving to be worlds apart. So in this case, I'm showing you that I'm about to tell you how they're similar and how they're different without saying, here's how they're similar and here's how they're different, okay? One large paragraph is fine, one large body paragraph, sorry, if that's what's necessary. Of course, I prefer you to break it up, maybe one body paragraph for similarities and one body paragraph for differences, and maybe even a third body paragraph for bringing it all together, but that's really up to you. And then, of course, your conclusion and your introduction, okay? So put that here. Again, 250 words is not that much, and I really do highly recommend writing more than that, but I was trying to be a little simpler with what I'm requesting from you for this week as we're thinking about this topic. And then, of course, we're going to think a little bit about her father next week, so maybe pay attention to that as well. So once you're done with this, please make sure you submit it here in the compare and contrast submission. Please make sure you submit the correct one. Maybe when you download this, you can change the title up here to compare and contrast, and then your name, dash your name, just so you know which one you're turning in and that it's not blank. Okay, so that is it for this week. We will definitely have to host a class via Skype or whatever video conferencing we're going to be using, because we need to have at least one more class before May gets too far ahead of us, because we're almost in May, which is really crazy. If you guys have any questions or you have any issues with anything, just feel free to send me a text message, a remind, an email. I'm still happy to video conference with you guys. I've gotten a lot of questions and requests recently, so I've been answering those as quickly as I can. And I'm always happy to help you guys as much as possible, especially with this compare and contrast. Always feel free to run your ideas by me. I'm really, really happy to check those before you actually get too far into the essay and then realize, oh no, I did that completely wrong. So please feel free to reach out to me to check your work before you get it all written down and turned in, okay? So I guess I will see you guys as soon as possible via these videos. I'm kind of sad I won't get to see y'all before the end of the year, but that's okay. It happens, and I will definitely see you guys next year, okay? So I will talk to y'all very soon. Bye.